And hello, folks. It is 2 o'clock, and we're going to start another 2 hours of programming in Rust on Unhindered by Coding. My name is Nick McPhee. Be here till 4 o'clock my time. So 2 more hours, add 2 to whatever time zone you're in. We are returning to the Echo client server. We pretty much have the Echo server written at this point, and now it would be time to get into the client, which shouldn't be too big a deal. Might finish all this today. I don't know. We'll see. But before we do that, I think I want to restructure things. At the moment, I should say the QR code is linked to the join the Discord server. Would love to have you there. Share ideas, thoughts, better ways to do things. So feel free to join if you are so inclined. The current setup, which I did really without thinking very much about whether this made sense in Rust, and in retrospect isn't I think a good way to do this, was that I created a single repository called Rust Echo Client Server. And in that repository, let's close some things up to simplify. I have two entirely separate Rust projects, Echo Server and Echo Client. And we've been doing all the work here in Echo Server, and Echo Server has done the thing and been a happy deal. And I was going to have these be two entirely unrelated projects. Now, in retrospect, that probably isn't the best way, the most rusty way to do this. Rust supports having multiple binaries in a project. And that's really what we want here is we want two binaries, a client and a server, in the same project. And in theory, if there is code that it would make sense to share between the two, we could also have a lib crate, which by default you would just have one lib crate, but you could have multiple binary crates. We could have one lib crate that has the shared code between the client and the server, and then the two separate binary crates for the client and the server. Now, I don't know, to be honest with you here, I kind of doubt there's going to be any meaningful shared code. There's not that much code. Let's see if we go to the server, source, main. Main's not that long. Close you. So what do we got? We got 147 lines. And I don't know that there's likely to be a whole lot here that is gonna be shared. Maybe some of the error handling could be shared. So we've got like our server error and our socket communication error. Maybe socket communication error could be shared between the two of them. That doesn't seem absurd to me. But I think for now I'm just going to write client as a standalone thing, and then when they're both done, look at them side by side and think about whether there's shared stuff. But still, it's the case that having two binaries here probably makes sense as the thing to do. I think that would be a lot more coherent than the current arrangement. So we're going to start by moving a bunch of files around. It'll be very exciting. Not really. And then essentially everything in Echo Server needs to come up a level. so that the top level thing is a cargo project. And then in source, anything that's every RS file that's got a main in it becomes a binary crate essentially. So if we go to here, yeah, this is what we want. So the default binary is in source main, but additional binaries are stored in source bin. So whatever I put in source bin will become a binary crate. So I think I just need to move all this up a level, maybe rearrange a few things, create a source bin, move main into that and call it server.rs, and then we'll create a client.rs in there, and that in theory I think will make the client, and we'll have both of them. I've never done this before, so we're gonna find out, but I kind of think that'll be a thing. So I'm gonna actually do that in the command line because I think that'll just be a little easier to see everything. So I want to preserve .get and .getignore. That's okay because I don't think either one of them exists in Echo Server. Oh, .getignore does. That's interesting. So actually I should look at those two. And what way are those different? So there's .getignore at the top level, and Echo Servers .getignore has just target. So actually I really don't care about the getignore inside Echo Server. That actually we can just get rid of. Server.getignore, because that doesn't do anything interesting. Echo Server. Oh, I wanted minus A, not minus L. Okay. And then, so I want to make sure I save the README. The top level README, says nothing. The interior README says precious little. So actually the interior README is probably more useful than the outer README. So actually overwriting it when I when I move everything seems entirely plausible. Okay, so actually I'll just remove README from the top. And now I want to move Echo Server everything to here. Boom. Okay, that's looking promising. I bet that left. Oh no, there was nothing else there. So remove that directory. And actually, there's really nothing in Echo Client, right, that's been changed. I think Echo Client got, oh, that was actually unhelpful. I think Echo Client just has the default stuff that you get when you build a project. Yeah, it's still got the hello world and all of that. So I think we can just lose Echo Client. There we go. And now move into source, create a directory bin, move main into bin/server.rs. Now, does it build? That's going to be. I think I updated Rust since we did this last week, so I think it's having to recompile more than I would have expected. Okay, so it builds. And now, if I say cargo run, what happens? Yeah, it runs the server. Cool. So actually, if I NC, yeah, we're getting stuff back, and that's good. And we should be able to get another one running at the same time. Cargo, oops, no, NC. How are you? I am fine. Yeah, so they're running in parallel. Life all seems to be good. Actually, if I kill that, I probably kill both of these. Yeah, because I closed the socket. Oops, that was weird. Okay, so that builds and life is good. And if we look in target, it's builds where it puts the, no, that is not where it puts the binaries. Where's it put the binaries? Oh, there's the server right there as a binary. Yeah. So if we debug, yeah, echo server is a binary. Oh, and server is a binary. Oh, because I called this server. I probably really wanted to call that echo server. Did I? Do I? I don't know. Actually, I think server is reasonable. So if I think let's remove the target directory and rebuild. I feel like probably stuff from before, and that may be complicating things. Oh, I meant to do that here. Well, whatever. Do. Come on. You can do it, little computer. Build Tokyo for me. There we go. And cargo run. Runs the server. Hello, how are you? Blah, blah, blah. Okay. So that seems good. Now, yeah, now we just have server as an executable. So it didn't, that echo dash server was left over from before. So I think that like gets us all built. And we can make more stuff. Now, Rust Analyzer failed to load workspace. Is that like for real? Or is that just from faffing about? I'm going to reload window and see if that comes up again. Okay, so I think that was a, oh no, Rust Analyzer is still thinking. Let us contemplate our navel. Hey, Rust Analyzer seems happy. Cargo check is running some stuff. Okay. So yeah, everything seems to be good. And there aren't any clippy warnings. So I'm going to declare this an accomplishment. And I'm going to commit that. So this is just a renaming. That's removing some stuff. That's replacing the old thing with the new thing. I'll have to actually update that, but we won't bother with that right now. And that's just a renaming. So, okay. Restructure project to use two binaries. Instead of having two entirely separate Rust projects in this repo, we now have one project that will have two binaries. And actually, why don't we, in this guy, add client.rs and fn main, print line, bang, hello world. And why are we grumpy here? There we go. Okay. So now let's make sure cargo build. If we look for target debug, we now have client as well as server. Now cargo run will fail because it doesn't know which binary to use, and so I have to tell it. So if I tell it client, we get hello world. If I tell it server, we get our app. Yep. Cool. So that gives us a hello world, and I'm actually going to amend that into that commit. Oh, I guess I have to stage the file, amend the client binary is currently just hello world. Boom, bop, beep. Okay, so I like that. I think that is spiffity good. I'm just going to merge that into main and we'll move on. Okay. And I will then make a new branch, which is to implement the client. Okay. Now we should be, whoa. Why are you grumpy here? Failed to read cargo metadata from cargo toml file. Rust echo client server cargo .toml does not exist. Yes, it does. It's right there. Huh. Not really sure what's going on with that. I'm going to try reloading the window one more time. Maybe because I didn't have a client.rs before Rust Analyzer got grumpy. I'm not really sure. We'll wait for all of this stuff to finish. So, while that is contemplating its navel, yeah, now it's happy. I don't understand. So we want to, let's see, where's main? Is it main? Here we go. So we want to connect to a socket remotely. So in the server, we're binding to an address and waiting for connections. Now we want to reach out to an address and send and receive on that socket without this whole like looping and waiting business, because we're not a server anymore. So presumably we can let socket type TCP socket, I think is what we want. Or do we want a stream? Don't know. I think maybe we should look at some documentation. Tokyo TCP socket. TCP socket that has not yet been converted to a stream. So, what is a stream? How is that different? And do I care? TCP stream. A stream between a local and remote socket. Reading and writing to the stream is usually done using the convenience methods. So I think we were using a stream before, and I think a stream is probably the right thing. Yeah. So, and it probably tells us how to make a stream here. So we connect. Yeah, okay. And then we can write and read from that stream. Okay. TCP connect address await. Let's just hack the address in. Oh, that's interesting. That actually took just a string. That can presumably generate a whole host of errors. Connect. Yeah. And who knows what that could contain. Probably just in general an IO error, because that's... Oh, hi Asitsu. Wonderful to see you again. So we're... I've restructured the code to have it's a shiny... Oh, you're right. Good catch. Thank you. Hi, Wagatha. So I've restructured the code so instead of having two independent projects parallel to each other in the same repository, I moved everything in so there's now one project with two binaries, and we got that all working, and now we're starting on actually implementing the client side of things. And that, I think, shouldn't be too complicated, although I'll make it complicated in a little bit because I like making things complicated. So, yeah, we're essentially here. So we want a TCP stream, and we're going to connect. Oh, yeah, I was going to copy that address over. That's what I was doing. Grab that address. And I really do want to maybe play with clap to make that less, not so, well, make that so that the user can provide at least the port. Server address dot await question mark. Boom. Now that'll fail because, well, we need to know about, we need, are you going to try to do Tokyo, or are you going to, yeah, okay, good. Import TCP stream, Tokyo, there we go. And this will fail because, because this needs to be, it needs that Tokyo main thing. And it needs to be async. Wah, wah, wah. Async. Okay. Whoa. Blew up the world. And that's probably because we're not returning. We're need to be returning something. A result IO error. Or, yeah. Result box. Now this is going to need to be... Oh, hang on. I thought there was a Tokyo result that was going to give us... Well, they're doing this thing now. And we don't... Actually, we don't have... Let me... Actually, because I'm going to keep wanting this to be... Come on. How do I make you split right? There we go. Okay. So we do result. Can I get away with IO error for now? Oh. Is that just a use? However, this does not return an IO error. Oh, because I'm not actually returning. But no, I don't want to return anything. Oh, I need an OK. Yeah, right. Boom, boom, boom. There we go. Awesome. So now that connects and it compiles. And we'll need to, excuse me, we'll need to fix all the error handling stuff at some point, but I figure I want to just get something up and running here first so we can see that it works, and then we'll make it look shiny. And so now we can write and we can read. I also need to be able to read from the keyboard. And I assume it's just some sort of IO thing. Rust, read from keyboard. Oh, come on. Really? You're going to send me off into the wilderness for this? How about standard in? Okay, that's probably better. So IO standard in dot read. Cool. That looks like a thing. And we need to provide a buffer for that. So, boom. Now that's going to have to be in some kind of loop, but for the moment we ought to actually be able to socket right all buffer and I would have thought there had been a lot of screaming about await stuff. But there doesn't seem to be. I'm a little confused about that. Unused variable socket. Well, I used it right there. That seems weird. Oh, maybe if I say save. Yeah, okay. And it didn't like that. Really? Oh yeah, right. I have to do the async write extension stuff so that we'll have write all. Now it doesn't like that because it expected U8. And we've got string here. Now can read line only takes a string. And really, I don't want a string here. I would prefer a U8 buffer, to be honest with you. So where do I do that? Over here. I have somewhere. I have a buffer. U8. No, I don't. I thought I did. Oh yeah, right here. So I have a buffer here, and I just dot read. Oops, I didn't want to do that. So I think that, and I think my buffer size was 10. No, it was just, where was my buffer size defined? Somewhere up at the top. Boop, boop. And there we go. And then I think this probably has to be changed to just read. Boop. Nope, didn't like that. Oh, I called it buff. Fine. And read is not happy. Oh, I maybe have to add that. That could be a thing. There we go. So now we're reading, hopefully successfully, and then this is going to be buff. And oh yeah, we want to send a reference to buff. No, not happy. Cannot borrow socket is mutable, is not declared mutable. Well, fine. Mute socket. Why are you being... Oh, that's just unused. Okay. So write all returns something, and we're not actually... Oops, I didn't want that. I wanted this. Write all returns something, and we're not currently grabbing that information. Oops, But I do think these things are all asynchronous. So I think I do need to await. Is this asynchronous? That is not. But I think this needs an await. And I think that's going to need a question mark. Yeah. Okay. So we read a line, we write the line, and then we just end at the moment, which is clearly not right or sufficient, but will get us going somewhere. Now, so Clippy is fussing that it doesn't like read here because read may not have read everything. Well, that doesn't actually bother me because I'm going to put it in a loop. So I think let's just try running this and see if this works. Now we should be able to say cargo run server here and cargo run client here. And I should be able to say hello and I just ended. Did I not ever? Oh, I never printed out what I read. I didn't read anything from the socket and print that. So, oops. So that reads from the keyboard and writes to the socket. Now I have to socket.read buff away question mark and IO standard out write all buff dot await question mark, and then that really would be separate from that. Now we're grumpy. Where are we grumpy? No method read found in stream. Oh, that's because I have to import async read extension as well. So we've got async write and async read. And this needs to be mutable. And this should be a borrow. And why are you grumpy here? Result is not a future. So write all. Oh, because standard out isn't asynchronous. It's not a Tokyo thing. So it doesn't need the await. So the socket's all Tokyo. So the socket read and write need awaits, but the standard in read and the standard out are not asynchronous, and so they're both blocking, and they do not need the fun and excitement. Okay, so now, yeah, so there's a couple of warnings from Clippy, but I think we'll resolve them in a hot second. Oops, I wanted to cargo build. Okay. Run the server. Run the client. Hello. Hey, we got hello back, and then it ended. Good job. So now we just need to put all that in a loop. Zippity doo dah. So we want that and that, and so these first three lines are not going to be in the loop. And then here probably actually a loop like we used before is the simplest approach, and then we'll just return our way out of the loop at an appropriate moment. So we need to see if we got anything. So I will read, presumably returns an int. It returns a result usize. So int num red bytes. Oh, not God. Other language. Num red bytes. Let. Yeah. And now if that's 0, if n is 0, the readers reach end of file, or the buffer specified was 0 bytes in length. We know the latter wasn't true, so we've reached the end of the file. So if num red bytes is 0, I want to put parens around this because Java has a lot to answer. Well, C has a lot to answer for because Java just followed C's mistake. Then I want to return that. And otherwise, I want to write everything, read. I don't know, I think I like that better. Write everything, read and read from the socket, write to the screen, and go back up to the top. And now we don't need this okay, because that's now in this return here. Doodly 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 doo. Now here, it's also being grumpy because this read returns a number and we're paying no attention to it. So actually if we change this to say keyboard bytes, well, let's say standard IO because bytes red, and then here we would say let socket bytes red, and if that's 0, actually if that's 0, that shouldn't happen. If that's 0, the server died on us and failed to send back our message. N is 0, reach end of file, or the buffer is 0. So if we get a 0 here, that would be bad. Now I don't know that do we know we've read everything? Is there something kind of like a read all? So where are we in? TCP stream. There is not a read. There's a try read. What does that do? Huh. So read must be coming from some, I bet here, maybe not. So, but there's got to be one of these traits that's providing the read that we're using. Let's try read buff. No, I don't think we care about that. So I think if we just say assert bang socket bytes red greater than 0. We can say we should have, since, oops, make that a comment, since we wrote out more than 0 bytes, we should have gotten more than 0 bytes back in return. Boom. Now one thing, well actually let's go figure out if this works. It all seems to compile. Oops. Kill you, cargo, build. I don't have anybody else running, do I? No, good. Cargo, run server. Cargo, run. Oops, out. Cargo. Run. Client. Hello. Start up another one. Cargo, run, minus bin, client. How are you? Boom. Boom. Oops. Terrible. Boop. Oh. Where'd that come from? Okay, so we're writing the whole, we're writing the whole buffer, even though, so that's, we had this, I ran into this problem in the server side too. So this actually needs to, well, let's see, what do we do over here? So I did 0 ... num bytes. So here 0 ... socket bytes red. Doodly. And we'll close that, and we'll close that, and we'll close that. Build again. Oh, yeah, maybe. Yeah, right here. Good catch. Thank you. 0 ... standard IO bytes red. Yeah. So we've got to make sure we only write the number of bytes that were actually written into the buffer by the previous read, because we're reusing the same buffer over and over again. We can overwrite, we can have data left behind, and we weren't seeing it before because it's just blanks out to the end initially. But once you have something long there, then if there are shorter things later, you get dangly bits of the long stuff. So cargo build again. Run the server. Run the client. Do something long. Do something short. Much better. Hello. Start another client. Do something long. Do something short. Howdy. How are you? Both of them seems to be working fine. Yeah, so everything seems to be good now. If we close this, it should take out both of these. Oh, because they now have the infinite loop. So we actually do have to close them. So they don't notice, because they were both waiting for the keyboard input, and so they hadn't yet realized that the socket had closed. Okay. Awesome. So that builds a simple client. Oh, actually, I did want to check one other thing. If I start the server, I want to make sure that this doesn't what's that called? That's a good question. Momentary pause while I fish up a file name. Okay. Discord invite. Let's do the new, most recent one. Temp image.png. Now open temp image.png, and that worked. So you couldn't have seen that right away, but so we were able to send the image and get it back and without corrupting it. So it's a binary, and if we had at any point treated our data as just text, we could well have mangled it. But by using a buffer of U8s, I think we're safe on that front. And so it seems to actually work the way that we want it to. So that's kind of nifty. So now I want to commit what we have. So a simple implementation. This provides a simple implementation of the Echo client with no meaningful error handling. And only using one thread. Now, question becomes, what else do I want to do here? There are two things I could potentially do. One is I could add all the error handling stuff using the error stack crate to create the reports and all that sort of stuff. So actually three things. So we could do that. We could add all the error handling. It would probably make this easily twice as long. So the error stack stuff tends to lead to a lot of code like this. Whenever you do something that could throw an error, instead of one line, you end up with several lines, or even a helper function, which I did several times. So that would make it longer. I'm not sure it would teach me anything that I didn't already know. So is that really something I need to do? Another option would be to use clap, add clap to both of them. So one advantage, though, of using improving the error handling is it would potentially give us some shared code. Whereas right now, it's not clear what shared code there would exist between these two. crates, and it would be kind of nice to see a some shared code in a lib crate that the two binaries are sharing. That would be kind of nice. Not critical, but it'd be sort of useful. So that's one option, is to add error handling and see if there's sort of shared stuff. Another would be to add clap and read the port number, and in the case of the client, the IP address as well, from the command line. Third option would be to add threads to this. It doesn't look like it would actually make a lot of sense to have threads, but in the lab where we have the students do this, we actually have them do it with where there are two threads. One is this code is in a thread inside a loop that just repeatedly reads from the keyboard and writes to the socket. And then this is in a separate thread that independently reads from the socket and writes to standard out to the screen. As a way of seeing a different way of structuring the logic here. And I don't know that it would be a whole lot better to do that. And it wouldn't teach me anything that I mean, I would be creating threads, and oh really? So Tokyo has its own standard in that does that on a separate thread. And then I assume you would use await if you needed to wait for it. So if you didn't want to proceed from here until you had something, then you would need an await. But I don't know if that. So let's go look at that. Tokyo async standard in. And before Wagafa gets in there, new handle standard put occurs. This handle is best used for non-interactive uses when a file is piped into an application. Standard in is implemented by using an ordinary blocking read on a separate thread, and it's possible to cancel that read. Yeah, I don't know. I think that's solving a different problem. I used your name in not in vain, like in a positive way. When I went to this site, there was go to latest version. I was like, before Wagafa gets there, I'll remember to click it this time. So you did hear correctly. I did use your name. So sorry to distract you from whatever you were up to. So I don't think that this does kind of the same thing. I think it's probably similar, but I don't think it's the same thing as what I was thinking about. But I think actually I'm inclined to try to use clap, because I've never done that. And there could be shared code between the client and the server that do the command line argument parsing. So that could be stuff that could possibly end up in a lib crate. So I think that's actually what I'm inclined to do, is to do clap. So I'm going to actually merge this in to main. And add command line argument parsing. See if we can do that, because I've never done that before in Rust. Rust clap. Crate clap. Oh, interesting. So the derive presumably gives us the ability to say a bunch of stuff. That's kind of cool. So let's do this. Oops, no. Terminal window. Is anything running? Or have I killed everything? I've killed everything. Good. Cargo add clap features derived. Boom. Well, I wonder how much we're going to have to download here. It looks like a lot. So let's read some documentation while that's happening. So we need, okay, so let's see. So we need to define an args struct, and we say args parse, and this has to derive parser, and that presumably gives us the parse. And we have to list things that so we have a name, it's a string, short long value parser, number of times to greet, short long value parser has a default value of 1. So we'll want to have two things, an IP address and a port number. We can have the IP address default to localhost. We could have the port number default to something. And then we parse and we in theory get stuff. And I don't know, I'm not sure what author, version, about, and long about, where those are being used, what's happening there is. Yeah, I don't know. Well, we'll find out. Looks like it built. Oh, yeah, that would make sense, because those are things that are in cargo.toml, and maybe it then uses them in, oh, sorry, scrolling around too much. Maybe it includes some of that in some of the auto output it generates. Don't know. So did we build okay or install okay? Yes, we did. So we're going to need a struct like this. Actually, we'll go ahead and take that quote. And actually, we'll steal the whole thing, including the parser. Wah, 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 da, 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 da. And let's move you up here. And this is now wrong. So I don't think that's helpful. We're going to get rid of that. And fine. This is going to need to be not name, but IP address. And I guess that should be IP address we're connecting to, the port number connecting to, and that'll be I don't know what the constraints are for port numbers. How big can a port number be? How big can a port number be? How many bits, I guess, is really what I want. Okay, so it's a 16-bit value. So if I make that U16, that should be good. And we'll default the port number to, what have I been using? 60606. And we'll default the value t equals 127001. So if we don't provide anything, we should get, whoa, didn't like that. That's weird. So I don't know what t is. Let's go find out. Default value, is that like going to be over here in this? No. So it does seem to have a default value. I don't know what default value t was, because that didn't seem to show up anywhere. Wah, 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 wah. Yeah, I don't know where default value t is coming from. Can I just say default value here? Oh, interesting. So default value is for strings. Default value t is that even going to be remotely helpful? Probably not. No, I don't think we want to go down that road. I will take that as a given. So this is sort of saying, because what's going to come to the parser is a string, and here we're saying we don't have to like do anything fancy, just keep it as a string for the default value. But here, since the default value is not a string, because we're doing U16, this is probably saying something about we have to like parse it to the right type. But okay, so that's a thing. And then where was the right tab? Oh, I think it was right here. And then we just parse. Let args parse. So let args is args parse, and now we can loop over the args. We can get their name and presumably their value. Oh no, args.name is the value of the, yeah, right. So args name is the field here. Args.name is whatever value we put in that. So we should have args.add IP address and not count. That should be port. We should have args.IP address and args.port in here. So we ought to be able to construct an address out of that. And we used the socket adder class before. And I wouldn't be shocked if there's a constructor that takes new IP adder v4. Oh, it takes it all in pieces and then 8080. Or we can do this parsing thing. Or we could set the IP address, but that doesn't really change anything. Well, there's no way. Socket adder, new IP adder. This one here. Well, we're still going to have to parse out, for either of these, we're going to have to parse out the IP address that we got into its components. And if I'm going to bother doing that, I'm kind of inclined. I see what you're saying. So if we say instead of a string here, this is an IP adder, then our default value, does that need to be something else? Or is it okay for it to do the right thing there? I don't know. Let's find out. But I think the let server address equals socket adder new, and we can hand it an IP address, which is args.IP address, and a port, which is args.port, and that compiles. Wow. And then we don't need that anymore, and this becomes no, it is server address, and we're good. Wow, that's nifty. Good catch on the using IP adder here and letting clap do the parsing. I didn't realize it would actually be that smart. That's actually quite nifty. So basically, I assume as long as there's a a from that'll take you from string to IP adder clap. We'll just find that from and call it. And that's pretty cool. Trading drinks. Nothing like talking for 2 solid hours to require liquids to keep one's vocal cords. I still sound like a frog, though. They've not done a good job of keeping my voice in good shape. I think the hay fever is part of it, but let's see if this works. Cargo build. Doodly doodly doo. Should have started that before I moved my cups. I took a drink, but life's a challenge. Run bin server. Oh yeah, it was client. Client has got the clap stuff added. So now if I just run it, it should work. And if I should add IP address, I think I did underscore, right? Yeah. Equals 127.0.0.1. Oh. If you try to supply as a value rather than a flag. Cargo run spin client minus hope. Oh, I think it's. Oh, I get it. Right. So because I'm doing this through cargo, I need this to say everything after that goes to the binary and not to cargo. I'm with you. And you're right. It totally told me that. I just didn't get that that's what was going on. Oh. Usages client minus. Oh, maybe there's no equal sign. Wasn't sure how they set that up. Nope, that was not the issue. Oh, it's IP dash address. Oh, interesting. So you do an underscore in the code, but it turns it into a dash. Hello, how are you? Fine. Okay. And so I should also be able to say port 60606. And howdy. What's up? Not much. Okay. And now I ought to be able to leave the port out. And yeah. Okay. That's cool. And presumably, if I don't want all the cargo noise, I can always do target, debug, client, and now I ought to be able to say things just like this directly. Yeah. Cool. Okay. So that if one were actually to install this binary somewhere, it would just take those command line arguments like normal, but because we're running it through cargo, we've got to do the stuff. Okay, that actually makes sense. Then run this with minus help. Aha. So this information's coming from the TOML file, and it automatically builds out this list. That is pretty nifty. And it automatically created I and P as short versions. And presumably because they were unique, it just went with the first character. But if I had two or more flags that shared the same first character, it would do something. And I'm sure I can override whatever the defaults are and say, no, I want you to use this flag. And it tells us, so these are coming from, oh, I wonder, so I removed a 3-thing comment here from the example. Is that here? I wonder if I had left that in, if it would have used it in the simple echo client. If it would have cargo build. Interesting. So it's using the crate name, the version that came from the comment. This came from the comment. And so actually we're connecting to is bad language here. The IP address to connect to would be better. And to connect to the IP address to connect to default 127, the port number to connect to default yada yada yada. Very cool. Thank you for suggesting that, Azitsu. Well done. That is actually very cool. I've never used clap before, but that's a nice library. I like that. And now, see, I think I'll commit this and then we'll add clap to the server. Yeah, it did. It took quite, it was quite economical. Like, basically we added this and this line to do the parsing. And then here we just access the parts, but that was no different than whatever we had before. So that was very cool. That was very nicely done. And it's an interesting use of derives and defaults. And I'm assuming, like I said, people implementing the from trait to, for example, get from strings to IP adders, then makes building something like this so that it does the right thing very nice. So that is very cool. I like that a lot. I'm really glad we did that. Because that had been, it was clear, as you said, Ragafa, like, it's clear this is the thing people are using a lot. And so I was sort of, I should maybe, do something with this. But now having done it, I'm like, okay, that's definitely a win. Whereas like the air stack stuff, I can imagine it would be useful, but I don't feel like the need to like add that to every project I ever write. So I'm glad I did it and I learned something, but am I going to want to use that all the time? I'm not convinced. Whereas clap, that was really easy. And I could totally imagine in the evolutionary computation code, for example, using clap to let you specify things like population size or mutation rate or number of generations that would make it really easy to do that sort of stuff on the command line. And I like the default trick. I think that's actually really very nifty. So it's all kind of packaged together. You basically have all the user settable dependencies in one place. And the fact that it builds out the nice user interface, wow, this is very cool. So I'm going to commit this. So this is, didn't really want to look at that. So that added clap, and then this added used it. So I think we'll just do this. Add use clap to parse client arguments. This adds the clap command line argument parser and sets things up to allow the user to specify either of the IP address or port number using localhost and as defaults. Boom. Nice. And now let's do this for the server. And then, this struct should be in the lib because it's going to be exactly the same for both of them. And then we can call, the top comment. Well, that's interesting. Is there, good catch. I bet that we can specify that in some fashion though. Wonder. Yeah, I mean, I did have that thought. It's very few lines. Like going to the trouble of creating the library crate just to hold one struct is a bit overkill. But it would be nice to avoid that duplication. I mean, I guess you could maybe have the buffer size be a command line argument, but that could happen on both the client and the server. And I kind of wanted to actually like do the lib thing just to see it happen, since I've never done that. So I might still try to force the matter. I don't know that I'll spend forever trying to figure out this business, but if I can find something quick. That didn't seem to be the right thing. Yeah, no. That is generating man pages, not what we want. I wonder if that would be potentially useful. Output for humans and machines. No, that's definitely not what we were after. Using, so communicating with humans. Nope. Files. Nah. That is rendering documentation. Ah, maybe? No, that's not helpful. That's not useful. And this is really all taking us back here. Well, maybe really not worth worrying about. Our group. Yeah, that get. I don't really want to get into all that stuff. Okay. Maybe we just decide that this is a sacrifice I'm willing to make in order to see the lib thing happen. It's not really awesome, but let's do it. So I'll pitch that. Actually, we could say, well, yeah. We'll pitch that. And then really, I want both of these guys, if I move both of those to lib, then I should be able to pull them up both in the client and the server. We can try it, see what happens. So we need a lib folder which has a mod.rs, and we're going to cut all of this out and we're going to put it in here, I think. And now this will fail, but we ought to be able to import. No, neither of those is right. We need to be able to pull this in from our lib. Let's try what are la 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 la. So we need to use is this crate? Buffer size? No, didn't like that. Oh, I see. Yeah. Okay. So actually, this should have been lib.rs. rename lib.rs, and this should have been up at this level. Yes. And this should be deleted. Okay, now maybe we can find oh, so it goes in source. I'm with you. There? Yes. Aha. So, yeah, so everything, bin will just have the binaries, everything else will be part of the lib crate, and wow, so this is all unhappy because we have a whole bunch of importing to do. And that takes care of that. Now we come over here and everything's grumpy. And now we need to be able to import. Oh, yes, pub. So, whoa, stop that. Go away. So this is going to need to be pub. And this is going to need to be pub. And then we can import echo server buffer size. Echo server. That's getting it from the echo server, and I don't want that. What are my options here? No, I bet that's not going to be echo server. Why is echo server? Oh, that's leftover. Good catch. Echo client server. And now I gotcha. So now that would be echo client server. Bingo. And this would be echo client server. Go away. Yeah. Okay. Wow. That's like, oops. Kind of a mess. No, we don't need that anymore. And we have problems. Yeah, so the fields are private as well. So that has to be made visible. And now everything compiles again. Let's make sure it works. And then we'll add sure. Okay. So seems to do the right thing. Really should have tests for all this. I'll think about that. Maybe that's another task for next week, is adding tests to this, which I should have had at the beginning, but I've been bad. So now with this here, we ought to be able to update the server. Actually, it's probably worth a commit. So move args and buffer size to libcrate. This is probably more, cannot spell, more work than it's worth, and it might reduce flexibility down the road, if there is one. But I wanted to see what this would look like. Boom. Okay. And then now we ought to be able to do the server. And we could use the logger. Adding the logger probably makes more sense for the server than for the client, but we could log the socket information, which might not be a terrible thing to do. And we're about to do this, so move that. So we want basically these two lines should come with us to the new world. Comment that out. And now that'll be grumpy because, like, I don't know what you're talking about. Import that. And import clap parser. And we should be able to eliminate this. And then we'll have on line 126. There we are. Import that. And now, in theory, everything ought to work. Let's see. Clippy's got. Oh, so we've got a function parse server adder that returns an adder parse error, and we don't have that anymore because clap is doing the parsing and clap is magically swallowing the error here, I guess. So it exits on error. So this panics instead of returning some kind of error. That's interesting. So I'm going to ignore that Clippy warning for the moment and see if we at least have things working. And cargo build. Make sure I'm not running something over there. I'm not. Run the server. Oh, actually, let's run the server minus port 65432. Okay, and now hello, how are you? Wee. Okay, that works. So I was able to specify a port number here, and it seems to run on that port. If I ran on this, it fails to connect. So awesome. that seems very nifty. And this, I think, has been dealt with, so I'm going to remove that. Do I have any other to-dos outstanding? I do have one. Oh, yeah. Thinking about whether I wanted to fancify the error stuff some more. Not sure I care that much. So I'm going to commit because I think that's a happy thing. So we added those uses, got rid of the constant definition, cleaned some stuff up. Okay, so add clap to server, places the hard-coded server address. Oh, you know, this is maybe it's it proof that Isitsu's right. In some sense, it probably doesn't make a lot of sense to have something other than localhost as the IP address on the server side. Because if you specify something arbitrary, I presume that will fail in some way. So that's perhaps an argument for having not done what I did. Because you would want to specify the port for the server. And I assume that if you provided the string localhost, it would do the right thing. I don't know. Let's find out. Minus I guess I don't need quotes there. Localhost. Will this work? No. Invalid value. Localhost for IP. So it does really need an IP address. So it doesn't map localhost to that. But we could try that. And sure. And now does this still work? Yes. Okay. So we can provide those two options. So okay. We'll with the clap, the ability to use command line arguments for either of the IP address or port number or both. This also uses the buffer size constant defined in the lib crate. Okay, that is spiffity-doo. Yes, right. I can, in theory, I ought to be able to run a client on, if I had my laptop up here, which I don't, I ought to be able to run the server here and run the client there, and they ought to be able to talk to each other just fine. And that actually is quite cool. And in the lab, where we've got, a couple of dozen machines, the students can actually talk to each other across a variety of machines if they wish to, and that's kind of nice. So that's fairly nifty. And I must say the error that we got wasn't bad. So if we said like, hello peeps, that did it's not awful. And presumably if we did like 256.395.0.0, we would get something similar. Yeah. And if we left a component off, we would get an error. So that's not terrible. And it's a little cluttered right now because it's got all the other stuff for cargo around it, but and then it tells you we can use help, which doesn't help a lot here if you don't know what an IP address is, but at least it shows you the default. And it's probably not our job to tell people what IP addresses are. And what is minus? Oh, so we just get the version from the cargo toml. Yeah. Interesting. Very cool. Okay. Well, I think it's been a long day, and this is a good place to stop. This thing's supposed to wrap up in 9 minutes anyway. I don't know that there's anything that I want to start right now that would finish in 9 minutes or less. I might, maybe next time we do the threads, but I might not. I might decide that I've sort of squeezed all the juice out of this lemon and move to a different project. There's several possibilities there, but I think I'm going to call this good. So thank you all again very much for the help and the feedback. That was super useful, and I think I learned a lot, and I appreciate your time and your support. I will be back Tuesday morning to work on ice-repos some more, and then Wednesday night to work on the evolutionary computation stuff. And then we'll be back next Saturday to do more of this. Ta-da, ta-da. So thank you all very much. We'll talk to you later. Goodbye.